Good afternoon, Belvedere High School. This is BHS Principal Billy Lewis with a screencast today on our proficiency-based grading system. This is the same presentation that I gave at the Fall Parent-Teacher Conferences, which is why you see the date of October 2018. So I want to take a few minutes and talk about the new way of grading that many of our teachers and students were working with throughout this past semester. To touch on first, though, why we exist as a school is to first off help determine what is the most important learning in each course and in a high school experience so that students are ready to take on the world once they graduate from us. Once we determine what that learning is, providing opportunities for students to grow, develop, and get better and demonstrate their proficiency, what they know and are able to do. And then the third major bullet point of why we exist is to be able to provide good feedback, to try to use our expertise as educators to give kids feedback on where they are striving and where they could improve, and working with them to help them all reach their potential. With regard to grading, the traditional versus proficiency based both end up leading to a letter grade, but there's a difference in how that letter grade is derived. In a traditional grading system, points are earned over the course of a semester, and that leads to a percentage which is converted to a letter grade. In a proficiency-based system, some of the key terms are the idea of a rubric, so having a clear definition of what proficient work looks like, and against evidence, so the practice, the presentations, all of the things that a student demonstrates against that rubric. And then there's professional judgment involved. So that is a teacher working with a student, working with other staff, again, with that clear definition of what proficient looks like, and then a judgment of evidence. And then from all of that is how a letter grade is formed. So with a proficiency-based system, we're able to get a lot more specific on the type of feedback that we provide. We're able to give feedback specifically against academic learning, like we traditionally have. So modeling with mathematics or writing arguments to support claims. We can use our clear definitions to give feedback to students, parents, and each other about how students are progressing. And then what we will also have the opportunity to do is provide feedback on habits of success, which we all know are extremely important to being successful not only in school but outside of school as well. So working with others, time management, goal setting, focusing, all of those things. At Belvedere High School, the first semester, we had 35 teachers from 8 departments, so a great variety of teachers involved with this grading pilot, and we were able to learn a lot from each other through this process. Taking a look at an example of what this looks like. So the first thing that teachers have to do is decide what are the important things that are going into that letter grade. So these are not little things. These must be essential for success in the course and for future courses, and even sometimes cross-disciplinary courses as well. So we've had to put our curriculum under the microscope and have some really good dialogue, professional dialogue on what is it that is really most important for kids to learn. So this example provided in this hypothetical outdoors course, we do not offer this course, but hypothetically an outdoors course would include 4 major standards: riding a bike, climbing a tree, throwing rocks, and fishing. So once we know what those standards are, we have to have a clear definition of proficiency. So in the example of riding the bicycle, a 3.0 level is where we want all students to be. It means that they can do everything that they need to do against that standard. So 3.0 level, riding independently while maintaining safety. The 2.0 level, correctly identifying safety protocols, riding successfully with help, essentially, a push start and or training wheels. So those are our clear definitions of proficiency and near proficiency. And then we have another key term, the evidence. So this student started off in April not doing well on either the quiz or on attempting to ride on their own. Once we got into May, though, the student did much better on the quiz and then grew to the point where they were able to ride independently with no push for 1 minute. So with the professional judgment of that evidence and where the student was at the end of the semester against that rubric, that would be a score of a 3.0 for that student. Taking a look at that performance side by side, traditional versus proficiency based, first taking a look at traditional a points-based average system, adding up all those points earned divided by the points possible would leave that student with an average of 48%, or a grade of an F. In the proficiency-based system, the first two pieces of evidence still reflect low to no levels of learning with a score of 1. But because the student, by the end of the course, okay, in May there, being able to ride that bike and do well on that safety quiz, they are earning a grade of a 3 against that standard. So you can take a look and think about two students in those grading systems and think about the impact of their mindset with regard to how their progress is being evaluated. So the performance of riding the bike in the grand scheme of things, if you skip down and take a look at the standards, so the student goes through each of those 4 standards and is evaluated against a clear rubric. And of the 4 standards, 2 of them, riding a bike and throwing rocks, they met the proficiency level of 3, whereas climbing a tree and fishing, they did not quite reach that proficiency level of 3 and had a score of 2. I mentioned early in the presentation that we still have letter grades in a proficiency-based system. The bullet point there, calculating an end of semester grade from standards, shows us how we get those letter grades. And that's from what we call a logic model. So the logic model that you see is exactly what all teachers across Belvedere High School were using this past semester for consistency. And based on this logic model of the standards, 50% or more of the standards received a score of 3, with the remaining standards receiving a score of 2. So that is why you see the overall grade of a B at the bottom of this slide. So we have learned a lot throughout this semester from not only each other as a staff, but from conversations with students and from conversations with parents. And we are extremely excited about moving forward in this journey and utilizing a feedback system that will not only promote a mindset of growth and continuous improvement and the idea that mistakes are okay and part of the learning process, but we're also excited to be able to provide formally this very specific feedback in the very near future to students and to parents, so that everybody is aware of where students are thriving and where students need to make improvements, so that we can help all students meet their potentials as they move forward. We appreciate your attention to this presentation today. And if you have questions on this presentation or as semester grade reports come home next week, then please feel free to reach out to your child's teacher, reach out to myself as well, and we'd be happy to answer any of those questions. Thank you for your support of your child's education. Go Bucks.